guys? Welcome to the Sound Centric podcast. I'm Samuel Sarfo.
I'm Adam Dash.
And thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. Today we're with Ausar, who's made so much noise this year, especially with this project that dropped in late July. I now know it's one of the best hip hop projects that I've listened to so far this year, and it's such an honor to have him here. Of course, we'll be talking about the album, the process of making it, and of course, all the tips and advice for all independent creators. So make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and catch up with Ausar. His album is incredible if you haven't heard it already. But Ausar, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Sound Centric.
Yeah, appreciate you for having me. This is dope. It's been a long time coming.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. So as you know, we like to recap how we're feeling during the week. So we do a playlist title of the week, shout out an artist, talk about how we're feeling. So Sam, we'll start with you. What's the title?
I know it may be corny, but it's going to be I Now Know. I mean, seriously, when I say it's one of the best hip hop projects that I've heard this year, it really is. The amount of effort that's put into it. I feel like nowadays albums are becoming playlists. We don't get to hear albums actually becoming a work of art, and that's what this album was. The single's also going to be X-Rated by Leon Thomas featuring Benny the Butcher. If you don't know Leon Thomas, aka he was the guy from Victorious, I forget his name on the show, but he's such an incredible Andre. Yes,
there we go.
He's such an incredible artist, and he's the type of person who's kind of in the background who does a lot of different production, vocals, and just writing for a lot of different artists. But this time, he finally put an album forward. And in 2023, I do believe a lot of the independent acts, a lot of the underground, low-key acts really ruled music in the soundscape. So shout out to Ausar, of course, and shout out to Leon. But what about you, man?
He also has that song of Victorious. I forget what it's called, but he made a really good song for Victorious.
He had a lot of slappers, man.
My playlist title of the week is going to be someone that Chris Patrick shouted out, and now I'm obsessed with this man. Suave. This guy, if Schoolboy Q, Kendrick, like the mixture of sounds I get from him and the music videos are crazy. So his song Faces highlights my week. Just go listen to it. I think anyone who hears that song is going to be like, yeah, I'll dive into this guy. But Sar, how are we feeling? What's the song? What's the title?
Title of the playlist for me would probably be The Recipe. And mostly because for some odd reason, I have been listening to both Sir and the Kendrick Lamar version of both of those songs all week for no reason.
It's so good.
Yeah, both of them. What's my song of the week? I think I've been really obsessed with that Leon Thomas album, so I'm going to pick a song from there too. And I think the most consistent favorite for me off of that is Crash and Burn. So Burn for sure.
I'm going to have to tune into that. Damn.
Yeah, that album.
A lot of praise here. But to start things off the same way that you start your album off, I want to start out with a list. Okay. So I know that your brother was a big part of you rapping. You two, you and Nick were rapping over instrumentals together. So, man, we love freestyling, and we got to know from you, if you can think about this for a second, what are the top instrumentals to freestyle over?
Ooh.
Maybe this can be from your young days. This can be right now. As you're thinking, I will give you some of my songs that came to mind. Okay. I got High for Hours by Cole.
Okay.
I think that beat is like the most freestylable beat. I think Pound Cake's always a classic.
Fair.
Jay-Z, Dead Presidents, another classic. Wet Dreams, another J. Cole one.
Fair.
And Devil in the New Dress, Kanye.
Legendary beat. It's interesting. It would be hard for me to narrow down specific beats. I think for us, there was always a specific sound we were looking for, and there were specific producers that just really spoke to us.
Okay.
So for me, like, you turned on anything from Ninth Wonder. That's like we were sifting through any Ninth Wonder beats we could find. We were sifting through a whole lot of Just Blaze beats when we were trying to freestyle. Of course, Ye. Everybody's looking for a Ye type beat to freestyle off of. But anything soulful, anything with incredible drums, anything that had that boom bap sound to it. Shoot, Dilla too. We were definitely looking up Dilla beats. That was where we found home when we first started freestyling.
Yeah. Yeah, Sam, you sent me something about Ninth Wonder this week that he knew about Kendrick in like 2010 or something.
Yeah, there's basically a video clip that came out talking about how he was hunting him down back before in Compton, before he was even blowing up. And again, just being able to connect with different artists and producers, collabing them together, making different sounds. Even on this album, every beat sounds tailored for you and all the artists that you brought in, and everything sounds cohesive. In terms of my favorite produced a song of all time, it's easily Lucifer. That's one song I need to mention
Yeah,
only. Lucifer, Jay-Z, Kanye West. That song will let me go crazy.
yeah.
But yeah.
There's certain beats that I think are top beats of all time, but, like, are just difficult to rap over.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of I was, like, thinking Alchemist beats and Madlib beats, but I'm like, they're kinda difficult sometimes. You got no drums to really just freestyle over.
Mhm.
That's
But
fair.
another list. This list might be hard for you because 'cause you're ride or die for Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So without naming a Kanye West album, what
Okay.
are your top Chicago albums?
Oh, without naming a Kanye album, I can do that. I mean, my favorite rapper all time. Well, there are two. It's 1A, 1B. But my Chicago favorite is Common.
Yeah.
So I'm either gonna go B or like Water for Chocolate. Um, I biasly want to say 10 Day, but I'm gonna go with Acid Rap because it's the more culturally relevant project outside of
Mhm.
Chicago. Um, I am going to say, ooh, I'm gonna exclude Twista only because Kanye played such a. But I can't. I would have to do that to Common too. Uh, mm,
Yeah, Kanye's all over B.
yeah. There's a Twista album there too. I don't know which one.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna say Bucket List by Saba.
There we go.
Um, Telephone No Name. Because
Mhm.
these are the projects who were more formative to me coming up in music.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The Waters, Mick Jenkins, classic. That's not an album, it's a mixtape, but classic.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
it counts. I mean, Acid Rap's a mixtape. And 10 Day.
This is true. How many am I at? Did I hit my
I
five
think
mark?
you might yeah, I think you hit 5.
All
I have a
right.
take for you. Tell me how you feel about this. You're talking to a Chance the Rapper stan. I got my social experiment sweatshirt on.
Indeed.
I think as I've grown, because
Mm,
I've asked the Rapper's my favorite album.
mm.
I think Coloring Book might be better at this point.
I have to go back and listen, but just off cultural relevance alone, I don't know if I can.
Huge.
Yeah, like what acid rap did to music and the landscape of music at the time
Mhm.
was insane. Chance could do no wrong. And of course that carried into the momentum of Coloring Book, but like
Yeah.
Chance was such a polarizing phenom after acid rap dropped that it was just like that's when the murmur started of like, is he the next guy?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bro,
Um
he was on that Mount Rushmore. He was about to be there with
yeah,
a 3 hat. He sound like $3 million worth of hats
bro.
to have a number 3 on it.
He was unanimous. And that's why I think when you take into consideration everything surrounding that album, and shoot, even his rapping, because I think he raps better on Acid Rap than he does Coloring Book. They're just, I would say they're probably, and I don't know if I can stick behind this, but there might be better songs on Coloring Book than there are on Acid Rap.
I think that's what I'm kinda getting at more, like, sometimes like a song like Same Drugs or Summer
Mhm.
Friends versus I love acid rap. Like, a song like Nana, like, I love it, but
Yeah.
objectively looking back on it, he's
Yeah.
going a lot throughout the album. That ad lib was being spam pressed. But
It's what the
to
people want.
go it's what they wanted. To go along with this Chancellor Bennett theme, on the next song on the album, you have an amazing storytelling song, which artists, please do more of, Poster Child,
Mhm.
and you talk about his brother Taylor Bennett. So I quickly wanted to share a story because I also had my music journey intersect with Taylor Bennett. I used
Word.
to write for I wrote for my school newspaper, and I was going to see his concert when I was a sophomore in high school.
Mhm.
At this point, no one in my life knew I ever wrote music or wanted to make music. And I reached out to interview him, and his management said yes. So I'm on a tour bus. It's like the coolest moment of my life. And I was thinking, I'm like, so many people probably have rap for this guy. I'm gonna try to be original with it. So I printed out lyrics and did a genius annotation for every single bar on like the right side. And so now Taylor Bennett was the first person to ever know I made music. And that night I went home, told my parents, I'm like, yeah, I want to rap. Like I want to buy a microphone and do this. So
Word.
shout out to
That's,
Taylor in Chicago. But yeah, what were those freestyles like back in the day in the lunchroom?
yeah, I mean, I never joined them. It's it's funny because me and Taylor are cool now. Like We really rock with each other. That's my guy. But when we were kids, when we first met each other, we were not friends.
Yeah.
So like originally when they were rapping in the lunchroom, I always had an admiration for it because I was just like, wow, that's something I really want to do. But also that wasn't my
Yeah.
craft. So like I would
Mhm.
just sit off on the side and listen. And it was very inspiring just because I had never seen anybody in my age bracket outside of like my brothers rapping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it was cool to see that. And then to then hear about Chance, who I knew nothing about, and to check out his music and genuinely be a fan even before like things started moving, and to see his progression, that was crazy. That was the first time I had ever seen anybody do it. Like you made it happen. Like you really
Mhm.
grassroots turned this dream that you had into an actual tangible reality. And that was, I think that for me is what pushed me over the edge to actually pursue music because I saw, oh, it is possible. Like this can be done. So yeah.
Man, that's really amazing just to hear. Again, there's so many people who make it from the Chicago scene, but having that person close within your area and seeing it firsthand. And I was gonna ask you this. I want to know more about the Chicago scene. I can just imagine all the high school kids getting in ciphers, people coming together to collaborate and stuff like that. But when you first started making music, was it more so like an independent thing? It was just you, maybe you and another friend or partner, or was it more of a collective thing, coming together to make something?
No, it was just me. The Chicago scene when I was in high school going into college was crazy because you had Mick, you had Sabi, you had No Name, and they
Hmm.
and a lot of them were still here. Of course, all of them have kind of moved from
Mhm.
Chicago at this point, but they were all still here and around. Smino was starting to bubble up at
Mhm.
the time too. So it was just crazy. You could go to a show locally and anybody could pop out because of course they had homies, so they doing a show. Anybody could be a special guest, and you
Hmm.
seeing them randomly. I think there were a lot of opportunities here too because everybody in Chicago who was a artist or a rapper during that time period was funneled through a program called YCA, which is Young Chicago Authors. That and the open mic,
Mhm.
hosted by it was founded by Mike Eagle, who passed away a bit ago. But those two platforms are what allowed for artists to really be expressive and gave them opportunities to perform. Um, and so there was just like this system and this pipeline of artists really being groomed for that next level. And it was just a crazy thing to watch.
Mhm. I think that because we're so connected now with social media, that there's a less regionality in music where you're not like, oh, that's a California artist. You can tell by the G funk he's rapping over, something like that. But Chicago always has this sound that I think is very gospel inspired. I mean, you got the Saint Sabina's Church on Poster Child, which sounded beautiful, and shout to Dende for also being on there.
Indeed.
But how important, because I know you're a religious guy, how important was that to your craft and the feeling that like, I gotta get this church choir? Because I love when a church choir is in a song.
I mean, my faith is foundational. It's the reason I even do what I do.
Hmm.
Um, we took some time a couple of years ago to figure out what exactly my mission statement was, and at the crux of it is me just being able to change lives by showing people who I am as a human. Right? Show people that
Hmm.
you're not alone in what you're going through. Everybody goes through things, but resiliency, leaning on faith in God to bring you through, is how you make it through it. Um, so that's one. As it pertains to having the choir actually be a part of the project, that was really, really cool. And it's always been something I've wanted to do because I was
Hmm.
born and raised in the church and my formative years of music were based in gospel music. So it's like, I was fire. Um, I want to shout out KO, who was another phenomenal rapper from Chicago.
KO Southside.
Yeah, shout to him.
Yeah,
Yep.
dropped an album this year called "It Was Fun While It Lasted." Also incredible.
Hmm.
But on that album, he had the Saint Sabina Youth Choir on that, and me and Ro had been talking back and forth about trying to get a choir on one of the songs. And KO was the one who threw the lob and was just like, "Yo, this is another artist y'all
Yeah.
should work." Blah blah blah. He doesn't like the message he brings is something I think y'all can get behind, etc.
Hmm.
And it was history from there.
That's sick. Also, I'm not sure if this is perfectly correct. You don't curse in your music, right?
Yeah, I don't curse at all. So
How? Like, I don't. I mean that in a way that it's so impressive that so many artists, flow wise,
Mhm.
sometimes rely on a curse word, and sometimes it's just a filler word, syllable wise, to keep the
You
flow
really don't
going.
have to. I remember I was
That's
watching
insane.
this, like, short doc, and it was basically how, like, a lot of rappers, even when they use curse words, it's like a crutch to use to fit a syllable count. And
Yeah.
honestly, it gets lazy to a point where you're just using curse words to fit phrases into a bar when you don't have to at all, and you can push yourself to be
Mhm.
more creative and use more words. But go ahead, sorry, go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think on one end, because I don't use profanity in general, it's like it's kind of second nature to me because it was never an option.
Okay.
Um, but in addition, I think that I don't know. I've always kind of prided myself on being able to use my vocabulary in unique ways when writing. So I think it's really cool, and it's also really cool because I don't curse any of my own music, but also when I'm collaborating with others, I ask that they follow the same rule, even if I'm hopping on their song. Um,
Wow.
and
That's awesome.
yeah, and it's been really dope, and I appreciate everybody who has actually been able to adhere to that with me and respect my artistry enough to like understand the values and the principles behind it. But it's also cool when I'm working with people and they're like, "Oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. Like, I could do this more often."
Yeah.
So,
It's not. It's a crutch. It really is a crutch.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. You're waking the people up. Gotta make them use the new flows.
you know what
Get that
I'm
lexicon up.
saying?
Yeah, we got build a bigger vault of you, and I said this before we logged on, but you and Chris are just smart ass rappers. I just cursed. Damn it. You guys are some very smart rappers, and you say different lines that I'm like, that was a biology term I learned in sophomore year of high school. I was gonna
Nah,
I was
Chris
gonna
good.
shout out I was gonna shout out this line later because it's a but not it just comes up now. You said I haven't been inside a box since my jeans were on a punnet,
Mhm.
and I
That's a
just wanted
bar.
to clap. I
That's
just
a
wanted to appreciate that
bar.
because whenever I'm rhyming and there's a sonnet done something like that, I always use a Punnett square line, but I'm like, no one's gonna actually get what that means. And I saw when I saw you did it, I'm like, yes, so, biology.
It's a bar. I was very proud of that. So thank you.
Yeah, and my brother's a doctor. I told him, I'm like, you gotta tune into this one. We got some medical lines coming through.
That's
And
hilarious.
then also before the album came out, I'm not sure if it was before. I believe it was before, but obviously I have to talk about this. As I feel like it was part of a huge part of the album too, with the voicemail. But Rhythm and Flow
Mhm.
on Netflix, you audition. Talk about that, how that went, and the whole process there.
Yeah.
Arpeggios.
Rhythm and flow was rhythm and flow was um, I
I was
think
watching it last night. So that's
actually
why.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I think it's been years. Um, but it was a cool experience. I think that for the time period in which I auditioned, there was so much going on that like it felt like this really peak moment for me where it
Mhm.
was, everything's finally coming to a head. This is it. It's time. Um, and it had such an anticlimactic finish because I got there. I was the first person to audition for Chicago in general, and I didn't move
Wow.
to the next round.
Mhm.
Um, and I think initially I was super hurt and disappointed, um, just because I had, when your mind is set on something, you already thinking
Yeah,
2 3 ahead, and it's like
100%.
stop there. It was like wow. But I really think God was just kind of preparing me, and it was a great opportunity. It was a great experience, and the way that people reacted, you would have thought I would have won.
Yeah.
Even from that minute clip, there was so much support that came through. There were so many new people who ended up investing in my journey just from that alone. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's advertising for you. It's the same thing, like, some people go on Shark Tank with not even the goal of getting their thing signed, like, it's just more
Mhm.
advertisement for their product, and I'll say I relate from a job perspective because 'cause I'm still looking for my first job post-college, and that feeling of getting to an interview and I'm already envisioning what it's gonna be like working for the company, and I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna be living in Philly, like, that's my life," and then when I
Mhm.
didn't get the job, it's like, maybe I set myself up for that disappointment, even though it all brings good things. I'm
Mhm.
curious from a fan perspective, you're rapping for Chance the Rapper and Lupe Fiasco. Like, did you get to talk to them at all?
Yeah,
Express love for
I've
them? Like, how was that?
It was cool. I got to talk to both of them one on one after everything was said and done. And it's funny because I actually just saw Lupe recently, and got a chance to talk to him again um, at the Joyce Rice show that I opened up for. He actually came and attended
He's
and was
fire.
there. Yeah. Um, and
She's
I was just like,
Chicago.
no, she's not from Chicago. I think she's from
Okay.
LA. But she was just out here on her tour. And I saw him pop in, went to go say what's up, was talking to him. I was just like, you remember who I am? And then he was like, refresh my memory. I was like, Arpeggio. He was like, oh, what's
That's
going on?
hilarious.
Yeah, because that's the second time I've done that to him. We had another interaction on Clubhouse where
Yeah,
that jogged his memory, but that's become the running joke every time I see him now. It's just
that
Arpeggio.
that's
Uh,
so funny. He put a verse out over that Andre 3000 flute, and I'm like, sheesh,
mhm.
this guy, he's a
He's just
skilled rapper.
yeah, he's too good for his own good.
It must be incredible to have all these different, like you said, these people from Chicago who not only do you get to at least meet with, but just be inspired by. And Lupe is one of my favorite artists of all time. If you didn't know, he's teaching a class. I don't know if he's still teaching it now, but
At
he taught a
Harvard.
class at MIT.
Can I,
Yeah.
Um,
can I stop really quickly? I am so
Go
sorry.
ahead.
The fact that I did not mention The Cool in my top 5 Chicago albums of all
Yeah,
time
Mhm.
is
disrespectful.
downright insane. The Cool.
Yeah.
We can continue.
We'll edit it up. We'll throw it in. They won't even notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, The
B
Cool for
but
sure.
yeah, just growing up with so many different, just legends. I mean, I just couldn't imagine, I don't know, because some people are born in, different states or areas, whatever, where there is no culture in a sense, but Chicago, there is a culture. So when you're making music, do you feel forced to stay within that sound in terms of that region or just be yourself and come up with whatever, comes from your soul?
No, I just want to make whatever feels good to me. I think when I was
Mhm.
younger, I was very pressed about what I think people wanted to hear from me. And then what you grow to realize as you continue to make music is nobody knows what they like. You kind of tell people what they like by what you make.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of where I've been at. I think for even this album, we intentionally were trying to do things that we felt people weren't looking for from us. Like we got
Yeah.
good rap here, that's great. But these are songs. These are full cohesive songs with great hooks, with uh, incredible production and wide ranging production, wide ranges in terms of subject matter, stuff y'all haven't heard me talk about from perspectives y'all probably haven't heard. It was all
Mhm.
super intentional.
Yeah,
So,
there's definitely the classic Chicago sounding songs that are amazing, but then there's songs like Win that are like, whoa, he took a step in a different direction, or not spoiled. Pleasure has
mm-hmm,
that more upbeat, like just really cool that you're diversifying that sound. Now,
mm-hmm.
from a training perspective, I know you're a ball player. You're sadly a Chicago Bulls fan. I'm so sorry, but
Get
I
it.
love asking I love asking artists this question.
Mm,
But do you ever implement that into your own training? Because Cole said he did the 1 minute drills. We were talking about Chris because he was a D1 athlete, like
mm,
how he goes about training,
mm.
and also your tweet about you tweeted yesterday the why'd you go with that flow, like the funk flex thing. The Bulls, you guys are. Ugh.
Yeah, it's insane. But no, to answer your question, yeah, rap and sports are super synonymous. But what's most synonymous is the discipline. Um, I think right now I'm in a space where I'm trying to get back to form because I think
Mhm.
I was so tapped out by the time my album was done. I didn't have anything to write, and I was a person like I was writing every day, sometimes 2-3 verses a day. It just depended on what I had on my heart. Now I'm trying to get back to 1 verse a day, and it's been
Yeah.
difficult because partially I'm not inspired by as much right now, which is fine. It comes
Mhm.
in ebbs and flows. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about me like not finding inspiration no more. It's just where I am right now.
Yeah.
Um, I also think though that what ends up happening is, of course, repetition allows you to build new skills as you find stuff out and you keep experimenting. But what the key point of repetition is that the more you do it, the more you trust it.
Mhm.
Like I'm sure Steph doesn't think about when he's shooting now. He just shoots because he's done it so many
Yeah.
times. There's no. It's counterproductive to think about it. Um, when you step away from your routine for so long, you start questioning the mechanics of what you do. So I'm
Mhm.
getting to a point where like I'm getting back to trusting it. And that's yeah.
I mean, I know Vince Staples said someone asked him to freestyle. He's like, I just gave you an album. He's like, I don't got any, I don't have anything new to say. But I think that's something artists constantly battle with because you just gave so much personal detail about your life. And it's like, yeah, you need some artists. We talk about this all the time about how much should artists drop, and certain artists drop multiple times a year. And it's like, should you take a step back? Like, should you be releasing all this music? And when is the perfect time to drop and be inspired by life? Like, how did you kind of manage that? Because I know this album was a 5-year process of making it, or years in the making.
Yeah.
So how does that?
Nah, I don't think it'll ever take me well, I won't say it won't ever, but the next album I make is not going to take me 5 years because we finally gotten through the process and know what it looks like, and I can do that again in a much shorter time span. Now, if I have the luxury of taking 5 years to make an album, I probably will, because why not? But yeah, man, I think I don't know. I think that you just kind of know when you're inspired and it's flowing, you live in the moment. You just let it happen. I think I've seen Drake and Cole do it, where they had albums that they just put together in like a month or two's time, if that. And then it's just like, here y'all go. I was inspired. This is what I felt. Live with it. Everything doesn't have to be this grandiose, like concept album. You can have fun. It's okay.
Yeah.
I also think, though, you have to be patient with yourself and understand that you can't force anything. The moment you try to force it is the moment it sucks every time. So just listen to yourself. And sometimes just live life, because that's important too. That's part of the work.
Man, that's all incredible advice. And what you said earlier hit so hard when it's not even about what you write, whether it's good or not. It's just being able to trust yourself and being confident that you have a voice and what's being written or said has a place, in the world. And with terms of your album, I'm so happy you mentioned this too about talking about how you made full constructed songs. And I mentioned earlier as well that the album is full. A lot of times now, of course, we see the shortening of albums, but also the shortening of songs. So much so that I don't know if I can even call it a song anymore. And for you, you had so many different elements, all the way from the layering, the production, the features. How did the collaboration process go? Who did you decide to join the album and why? Why it didn't make it like an album that was personally to you without any features instead?
Yeah, I think everybody who's a part of the album is essentially part of my journey in some way, shape, or form. They my homies. Everybody, there's nobody on that project who's not a homie of mine in some way. Um, and it's incredible because I essentially got everybody who I wanted to be a part of that project to be a part of that project. There's one person who I wanted to be on the album who I did not get a chance to make it happen.
This could be your advertisement right now to that person, unless you want to hold that in your back pocket.
I don't want to put him on blast.
Yeah, we'll say it for you. Yo, Chance the Rapper, get on his song. We got you.
No, actually, Chance, I would like to have on one of these songs if we were to ever do like a deluxe or anything. That's for sure something I would want. Yeah, I'll leave that there. I'll tell you off record who it was, but yeah, man. Other than that, these were all just people who were part of my journey, and it all made sense. I'm glad I didn't go and seek out anybody who I thought would just bring in the numbers outside of the people who I was already connected to.
Yeah, I thought they all executed their features so perfectly, and always added to the song, was never just like you said, there for the reason of needing a feature. I'm scrolling through the album right now. There's so many people that you helped me discover. Elijah LaFleur is someone I've seen throughout Twitter. He's fire. But there's so many artists. Yeah. I reached out. So I hope this is a real question that Chris told me to ask. I reached out to Chris and I was like, what should I ask this man? And he said to ask you, is a hot dog a sandwich? I'm not sure if he was messing with me or that's something you guys did.
A hot dog is absolutely a sandwich. The debate needs to end, because if you believe that a sub is a sandwich, there's no way that a hot dog is not a sandwich.
That's a very Chicago argument, I feel like.
The truth is the truth, regardless of where it comes from.
That's hilarious. But what's your relationship with the CXR guys? Obviously, Dende killed his chorus. Huge fan of he had him on the show, and Chris, you two similar style but do your own thing. What's your guys' relationship like?
Those are my guys. Those are like brothers to me. We have gotten super super close over the past it's been like 3 years now that I've really known them. We met during the pandemic, which was crazy. Like over the internet, they ended up coming out to Chicago one random winter, and I'm saying it was just love from jump. Um, really appreciate those dudes very much.
Something I remember
Yeah.
years ago, you guys, a bunch of independent artists did the Sanctuary sessions. So I have a couple of questions
Yeah.
about that. First, was there ever a planned like Revenge of the Dreamers type album that was supposed to come from that? Because every once in a while I remember it and I'm like, no, I never really heard anything come. Or is it just a bunch of artists like just connecting and made a bunch of singular songs for themselves?
No, it was definitely, I think, supposed to be a full rollout of an album. I think the time and the situation just didn't present itself the way that we originally planned. But it did provide a platform for us to build real community and real friendships from there. And that was one of the most pivotal music moments I've had in my
It was
entire
such a sick
life
idea.
for my growth. Yeah,
How
absolutely.
often now do you guys still collab? Or in terms of like, I know before you were saying like you used to work independently. Is that still your process now, or do you include more people into it?
Oh yeah, I have a team at this point in
Mhm.
that I work with, whether that be on the production side of things. Of course, Ro Moore, who executive produced the whole album, and Ro has been there essentially since I
Mhm.
started. It's,
Yeah.
it's always been me, Ro, and Will, who is my manager, Will Goff. Will is also the person who came up with the concept for the cover art. He's the person who made sure that everything came together cohesively and really was the creative director for a lot of um, all the assets for the album. And any asset you've seen from me for the most part has come from Will. Will is a designer by trade. He just has the mind for it all. Um, and he's just an incredible creative that I've been blessed to work with. And then Steven is the one who did most of my photography, and he's been incredible too. So I have a full team.
To kind of dive into the importance
Yeah.
of having a team, because I'm sure a lot of independent artists hope to have a team soon or are curious like how to actually build a team. What was your process of finding? Did they reach out to you? Are you cold DMing people? Like, how'd you go about that?
No, these are
Oh,
my
okay.
homies. These are people who are like Will. The way me and Will met, he went to college with me, and he was a graphic designer, like I said. So he designed a cover for a project that shall not be named because I don't want anybody ever finding it. And after working through that with him, I was just like, I love the way you think.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You really get this and you also get me. So I essentially bugged Will for 2 years until he had finally just decided, okay, fine, I'll manage you. Um, and then Ro, I got introduced to through Josie, who's on Tattoo.
Mhm.
Um, Josie and I were in a group together in college called Word, which is Writers Organizing Realistic Dialect. It was a student organization that threw concerts every semester. So Josie was one of the first people in college to really take an interest in me and take me under his wing when I got there. And he was just like, "You remind me of this other guy I know named Ro. Put us in contact. The rest was history." Um, so the people who are here and on my team are the people who I love like family. And that's why they're here because I can trust them with my life and not have to think about it.
That's awesome.
So
So a lot of it came from college, is what I'm hearing. I feel like that college experience is what built that foundation.
it absolutely did. It
Eh,
absolutely
Hmm.
did. And I think, say that
No,
one more
keep going.
time. I know, I was just saying, I really thank God for just putting me in spaces to be able to do that and connect with real, genuine people. I feel like a lot of times in music, you hear all these horror stories about how you run into people who, you know what I'm saying, are not the most genuine and caring when it comes to these types of things. But that hasn't been the case with me.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys are so close. Like that's really cool. I think the CXR people have a similar plan with that. Like surround yourself with people who truly believe in
Yeah.
you. So I'm curious because I
Mhm.
posted about this on Twitter yesterday about how hip hop sales tour wise aren't as big as it's stream wise. But I'm curious how important performing is to you. because that's obviously a big way that artists make money when they're coming up. So how much focus do you put into that?
Yeah.
I know you have a live band album, but are you a live band performance guy for most of your performances? Just how important is that aspect for you?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. So without giving away too much, when we find, because we still haven't done a headlining show for me for this album. When we do, it's not gonna look like your
Awesome.
traditional show at all. It's gonna be really different and probably like one of the first of its kind,
Okay.
actually. And it's because I understand that experience is what matters. People are paying for experience. So shows are super important because this is the way you provide an experience. This is how you get people to really buy into who you are. Um, I also think that I take it very serious when we even rehearse for new things. I used to perform with a band all the time when I was younger. I stopped because I did not feel like I was a strong enough performer by myself. So I went back to the basics when I got my DJ, and for the past 2 years or so, it's just been me and her. 2 3 years, maybe four. It's just been me and her. Um, because I wanted to get back to the basics. I am about to start implementing the band again soon as well, though.
I think that's definitely important. Like I've performed with a band and performed not with the band, and the comfort of having people next to you while performing is definitely a thing, especially since it's louder.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're hearing yourself a little bit less.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this is even what you're getting at with providing something new that no one's seen yet. But I think hip hop does miss a little bit of that theatrical aspect to its performances because I've been to plenty of shows. I've seen rappers rap over their backing tracks where it's like, this just sounds like I'm listening to your album on Apple Music. And I've seen someone like Kendrick where every single thing was choreographed step by step, where when him and Baby Keem did Family Ties and they walk past each other, they don't even look at each other. Like they were very strict on like step, step, step onto this sound, this sound. And I'm like, that's cool because you see that from these like pop idols and these people that, I don't know, what's her name? Pink is like flying around at her concerts on a zip line and stuff like that. I think that's something hip hop could definitely venture into, just a more theatrical thing.
Yeah, I agree. And theatrical is an incredible word. Without giving too much away, you right on the
There we
money.
go.
And I'm excited to see what you're gonna do with this as well because I know me and Adam talk about this all the time, but especially in the space we're in now, it's so easy to just make music in your room, put it out there, and that's it. And also, people forget that performance is so much different from recording or just
Right.
being in the studio. Complete two different skills. And I think an independent space, at least, that's something that needs to be addressed because sometimes people skip steps. I know there's a story of Mariah the Scientist that popped up earlier saying that when she did her first festival, she's never performed on a stage
That's
before.
wild.
And that's been like a serious case for a lot of artists, who are coming up and becoming successful, blowing up and finding a label and such and such.
Yeah, super important. You got to go back to the
I
basics.
cannot imagine performing for a
Yep.
festival for your first performance ever.
As your first,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
that's
I
insane.
performed at my senior prom and I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I literally, I didn't know. I
That's a
didn't
lot
know I
of
was going to perform. So it's a venue called the Fillmore in Philly where I literally saw Anderson .Paak perform like 2 weeks earlier. And my friend's dad works for Live Nation. And like 5 minutes before I performed, he's like, yo, do you want to perform? I had to study my lyrics because I didn't memorize them. Like I was not prepared at all. And it
Yeah,
went well.
that's crazy. Shout out you.
Thank you. I got a lot of personal anecdotes for this episode. It's connecting.
One thing I know I wanted to ask you, Asar, was obviously just the theme of this project, having a relationship to fear. How was this project approached differently from any other project or EP or song you made beforehand?
We took the expectations away. We just decided to have fun. That's the reason that this album took so long to make. It was a whole nother album at first, and I think I got too caught up in what I thought people wanted from me. List was the first song that we made from this project. I made it while I was in LA,
Hard.
while I was making my other album. When I got done with List, I was just like, this is fun. I want to do more of this. I don't know what we've been working on, but this is where I want to go. Um,
Mhm.
and my team trusted me and they allowed me to experiment. And eventually, it was just like this is what came together when I started having fun.
I was gonna say, how do you get that? How do you get to that space of just being comfortable and saying that, you know what, I'm gonna put the expectations away and I'm just gonna write and whatever comes out, that's what's naturally coming out, and I'm gonna accept it.
You get tired of fighting yourself. You tire yourself.
Yeah, there you go. That does it.
Once you get tired of fighting yourself, it's the same essence of like when people tell you when you know better, you do better. It's like
Mhm,
the moment you tire yourself out and get tired of fighting yourself, you'll come back and go,
mhm,
all right, I'm gonna get back to what got me started. What got me started was
mhm.
having fun. So just have
I
fun.
wanted to highlight that
Yeah.
when I first heard List, it was different from your normal raps where I could like feel that radiating like fun coming from the song because I know you freestyled the first couple lines and there's more space in the song compared to some other songs where you're obviously filling
Hmm.
the stanzas up with just the craziest bars. And this one is you were just riding the beat, you and Deontay. Shout out to Stoic again because that beat is
Hmm.
crazy. And I want to
Crazy,
highlight my
crazy.
favorite song on the album is "Don't Date Rappers." The chorus is amazing. The concept is amazing. So I want to ask you more about the concept. I think we've asked every artist this, but how do you balance telling these personal stories that you know that person might hear? I know you talked in the interview about showing your mom a song and then looking over to her like, ah, that's about you. But I think that's a difficult thing to balance.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I've gotten more comfortable with it as I've gotten older. I don't think it ever gets you don't ever dissociate with it completely
Yeah.
because it's your life. You know what I'm saying it's your art that you're sharing with people, and of course, it's great that they resonate and you know what I'm saying enjoy it. But you're telling your own personal stories. Like there are songs on this album that people love, and they're just like, "Oh, this is such a great song." It's like, thanks. If you really listen to it, I was really struggling and sad when I wrote it.
Yeah, really.
So it's yeah, like case in point, if you really listen to Trophies, my verses on Trophies, those are
Yeah.
very sad verses, like incredibly sad verses, just over a very happy and bouncy beat. So it makes it seem like, oh, incredible song,
Yeah.
very hype.
No, it's like
It's
a
not.
sarcastic song because you talk about is your aunt in the hospital at the end and she asks how your career's going.
Yeah,
I think that's like a beautiful way to
yeah,
paint that. Sort of juxtaposition in the song. Cannot pronounce that of like the happiness and like
mhm,
the actual detail going on.
yeah. And that's a lot of that is the essential uh, music making process. It's like people get attached to times in your life that may not have been the best, but you share it with them and they love it. Um,
I
so
know Kenny
yeah.
Mason said on a song this year. He said, "I want to stop talking." This is not gonna. I'm not gonna say this perfectly correct, but basically, I want to stop talking about my life because when I meet a fan, I feel seen through. Because it's like, wow, these people, even though they don't actually know me, they do. They know a little bit.
Mhm.
They know some of the personal stuff.
Yeah, you didn't share so much about yourself. You've
Yeah,
overshared. Like you have overshared everything with all of these people.
but yeah, it's
Yeah.
So now that you've put all your heart and soul into this, when's the next project coming, or do you need a break? Is this the time where you need a break, you're not gonna touch anything, or can you start just writing a little bit and kind of build up for the next project?
No, I took my break already. We were done with
Yeah.
the album in March, so between
Mhm,
March and maybe September, I wasn't really writing a whole lot. Every so
mhm.
often, I think now I'm finally getting to a space where it's
we're
like, all
back.
right, get back in your bag, get you something written every day. It don't have to be great. It don't even have to be good. Just write. Uh, you all will probably see more often me just throwing freestyles up on the timeline just to get back
Mhm.
acclimated with people hearing me rap, even when I know it's not like the freestyles I put up on my Twitter. I do that because I know that's not my
Uh,
best work, and it's like I just want to be able to share and express freely without having any expectation attached to it. No one knows when that's
yeah,
coming. It's just an exercise, so it's cool. Um, now I want to do that more. In terms of this next year, we definitely have
let's
projects
go.
coming. Um, I'm gonna experiment even a little bit more with the types of music you all hear from me. So should be
Was
cool.
this album David under a
Yes,
different
sir.
name, or is David still an album that's coming in the future?
Oh no, David is a whole different album that has not even joking with you. We probably made over a
That's
hundred tracks
insane.
for that album, and none of them
Wow.
made this album. Not a
How do
single
you?
one.
What differentiates a
Um,
song? Where is it a vibe that it fit? Like, how do you even decide that?
like what
Yeah.
was for David? Oh, it all because it was
Oh,
a
okay.
concept album, so I know what I was
Okay.
writing, to, what space I was trying to feel, and all of that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we want to give you We want to give you a
That's
space. You kind of just
insane.
did it a little bit, but shout out what you got coming, whether it's a show, album, song. Plug yourself. This is it.
For sure. Well, I know I have a show coming up January 12th. It hasn't been announced yet, but you
There
all
we
are
go.
first to know. Uh,
Exclusive.
that will be with myself, D2X,
Fire.
Corrali, Hey Sonny, and I'm missing somebody else. And whoever I'm missing, I apologize. I'm just blanking right now. But it's gonna be an incredible show. Everybody on the lineup is incredible. So that's January 12th. We got some music dropping. We're still waiting on. I did do like an on the radar freestyle,
Shout to that.
so that'll be dropping soon. Don't know when, but it's coming.
Go.
Yeah, and then next year is just gonna be fun. We got some events. We got more merch. We got everything coming. So just stay tuned in.
Hey, stay tuned, guys, because I'm telling you, the album is easily one of the best projects of this year, and you put so much work into it. You can tell that it was years in the making. So go ahead and check that out. Asar, thank you so much for being here. But that's what we have tuned for all you guys today. But we'll see you in the next
Peace.
one.